lucky I had that pie this morning. Bloody hell. Aye, the chest strap's just broke. Sun's out and everything. Yeah. We're not even digging here. We're not even digging deep. This is easy. There we have it, dog in a rucksack. So let's jump into the kit just now. Okay, here's our equipment laid out for you. And I'll go through each item in turn. So I can't remember the name of some of the specific, like this was like a no-namer from Amazon. What I'll do though is I'll find the links and I'll put them down, or I'll put a description exactly what you need to search for on a website or on Amazon or anything like that. And I'll put the make and model name, so you can just do a Google search and maybe get a better deal somewhere else. So I'll try and be helpful that way. Let's go through the items in turn. So this is our first thing. This is our little backpack at Rough Wear. It's a harness and backpack combined, and I've added a chest plate. Now this is a cooling chest plate, so it's kind of like it's porous and it's kind of like a sponge. So when you wet it, it holds the water, and the idea is that as the dog is warm, especially in their chest area and midsection, their vital organs basically, if they start to heat up, then due to evaporating water, this will actually have a cooling effect on the dog and keep them cooler when they're exerting themselves in warmer temperatures. In cold, wet situations, I would take it off, because you don't want that. Imagine having a freezing cold, wet, soaking sponge against your vital organs when it's freezing outside. You wouldn't really want that, so it just velcros on, really good. You can get one where it's a harness and the bags are separate and you attach them, so it's a bit more versatile for using it out with those purposes. But I've already got Moss a little harness, I don't need it, and this is substantially cheaper. It's under £100. Again, I can't remember exactly what it costs, but it's expensive. You could say it's almost as expensive as our human equipment. What I will say is that all Rough Wear stuff's expensive, but it's worth it. I had bought Moss a £30 backpack from like Pets at Home or something like that. We went out on a couple of long distance day walks, 15 miles say. First time under our little front armpits, our skin was chafed red raw, and that bothered me, of course. I thought maybe it was just like our hair was too long or I hadn't adjusted it correctly. So we went out again at another time. I checked on her after not too long again, all red, irritated, took the rucksack off. That went in the bin, not fit for purpose. What is it they say, buy cheap, buy twice? So I just went out, and I've got experience with Rough Wear products in the past. I just went out and got her this Rough Wear rucksack, and it's been perfect. She's had no irritation, no discomfort. She's happy with it. As soon as it went on her, she wasn't bothered. So I've been really pleased, and I wish I'd just got this to start with, because I basically wasted £30. The features of this rucksack are, the light doesn't come with it. I already had that to go on our other harness and attached. It's got a strobe in or whatever, so if you're ever night walking, that's a good thing to have. It's got the normal attachment point, and when the rain cover's on, which is here, you can use this as an attachment point as well. 2 top pockets, and in there I keep our poo bags, and it's got webbing straps, so you can actually bungee cord stuff over the top, like if she's got her jacket or it's wet, you can put that over. I've never bothered doing that. I actually just stuff it through the handle and have it draping over, or maybe tie a knot in it if our rain cover's wet and it's then turns dry. I'll just do that to allow the bag to breathe and for that to dry out. Inside, the pockets are huge. When I first got it, I thought they might be too big actually, but they're not. They hold stuff perfectly. They sag down low. The bag is well designed. it sits really well on the dog. Pay attention to the sizing guide that Roughwear have. Because all dogs are different as humans are, you need to make sure you get the sizing right. I've got this. This is actually the small. The Moss is a 15 kilogram, which is petite for a bitch border collie, but she's a 15 kilogram dog, and the small is what she required. So that gives you a bit of an indicator. Now, if you can see in here, the bag's actually got like a, it's like a plastic coating almost. Now, I guess that is like an extra level of water resistance. I keep Moss's cup in here so it's worn through. Not that it doesn't cause any functional issues, and that's more my fault, but I should have had that inside something else just to keep it out the road. This bag has hundreds upon hundreds of miles on it, and you know what dogs are like, they scrape along stuff and such. There's not been any issues with it at all. There's no tears in it or anything. The only thing is that there's these tabs. This one's permanently fixed under there, and this one has a clip on it, so when you attach the dog to the harness, you clip that in there and it keeps the pouches down. That's if you've got a dog that runs about mental. Moss doesn't when she's got her pack on, and even when she is running, I don't find that these bounce up like that. So I actually I've never repaired that. I could repair that easily, but I've never bothered because I don't actually use this side. It's quite fiddly to clip that under there, so I just didn't bother, and it's never caused any problems. Zippers are all good. It's a tough product. It comes in bright colours, which I guess you want because it's on your dog. Reflective piping, as is the Roughwear logo. Grab handle, so whenever I'm going over a cattle grate or a fence style, something like that, I just grab her and lift her over. One thing that's quite funny actually is they've got this cutout. I don't know really what that saves from a functional point of view. But Moss having long hair, her hair like sticks through it, and it's like Franken moss. It looks like Frankenstein's head. So that's quite amusing, to me at least. But yeah, good grab handle. The chest plate is well designed. The other pack I had wasn't. It's just nowhere near as good as this. This is really adjustable. It's well padded. It sits properly on the dog. It's really good, really robust, durable. As I mentioned, I got this additional thing. You don't need it by any means, but because when we done the Sky Trail, it was absolutely roasting hot, I decided to, because when we done the West Highland Way, I didn't have this. When we done the Sky Trail, I got it because it was warmer. Now, what I normally do is I'll wet it before I head out, and sometimes I forget. So what I do is next stream or whatever, I say to Moss to go in, get a wee drink and get a lie down, and when she's lying down, that wets this. So that brings me on to her stuff. I normally, just a plastic carrier bag. I have all her stuff in individual bags anyway, and then I put those in a plastic carrier bag, fold it up and put it in there. I've started doing that before, I just had it individually, but what we're having her lie down in streams and such, things can wet out a wee bit. Non-important things, but still, it's just a useful additional thing to have. Her boots. Now these are her front paws and her back paws, different sizes. The back paws, she had a paw problem one time on the Sky Trail and I had to carry her. And that was definitely like a grass seed or something had got in. I think she'd maybe been chewing on her paws and it irritated her and she couldn't walk on that paw the next day and I had to carry her. So I got these. I've put them on her before. You'll see in my videos she doesn't bother about them at all. Her back paws in particular seem to be the ones most affected. And I think, I've never thought about this before, but I think it's because they're kind of like us. Your feet aren't as sensitive as your hands are when it comes to manipulating things, and I suspect dogs' back legs are used just to power, propel and brake, and they use their front paws more delicately and they place them differently when they're going along. So if you're going along a rocky path, the dog will place their front paws. This is, I don't know if this, I'm not a vet or anything, I'm no expert, but this is what I suspect. They when they're looking about, they place their paws more carefully, their front paws more carefully, but their back paws are like our feet. You kind of just have to, you try and place them as well as you can, but they're down out of your peripheral vision, so you are kind of just putting them down and going. And I think that's the same with dogs. So I normally, if it's a rocky path, I'll put her back ones on, but I'm constantly watching her when she's running along, and I'm looking at her paws and her gait to see if there's any irregularity, and I've actually been able to spot things before it's caused her a problem in the past. So you do get quite attuned to each other. Something in addition to that are boots that I've got as well, were little socks. I've got her 2 pairs, 2 for the back, 2 for the front. What I found is that because these boots are breathable, in wet conditions, they soak through, and the socks get wet. Now the idea with the socks is that you can sort of get a better fit, and it's a little bit more cushioning. So I got them. I ended up not bothering putting them on her. It was quicker to put the boots on and off. She was going through bog with these on and they still never came off, so they were secure enough. Your dog's paws might be different and you might need the boots to keep these on, but I found that I didn't need them in the end, really. And inside, you know, dogs' paws are tough. You know, inside it's not like there's loads of like really sharp stitching that'll wear down on them or anything. You know, not a problem. One thing I would say before you put them on, brush your dog's paws off, just to get if there's anything in there, grit or anything. You want to get that off. Otherwise, it'll be like having a stone in your shoe. So make sure and brush your dog's paws off before putting them on. But I wanted the full set so I can put them on in any situation, and I still carry the socks. They weigh nothing, and you know, they can come in handy for other stuff. They're all in a bag, of course. Our leash, retractable leash, just a small one, frowned on by a lot of people. I find that when I'm doing hikes, this is just more versatile for me. With the lead, to be honest with you, a lot of the time it's actually for my peace of mind. I do worry and panic in certain sections if there's exposed parts. You know, I worry that she might blunder off the end or something. Now, there's never been anything that she's done to cause me concern with that. Sometimes she can go a little bit fast and careen around, but it just gives me that peace of mind. When I'm on, if there's ever a part where there's vehicles around, 4x4 tracks or anything, she goes on the lead. Because sometimes vehicles fly around corners and you can't, they're on you before you know it. You can't shout quick enough, the dog can't respond. You can't issue the command for the dog to come back before that vehicle's on you already. If they're not paying attention, something could happen. It's not worth the risk. So that's why I like the retractable leash, because I can still have her on the leash for her safety and peace of mind. I let her roam about, but often what I do is I don't even have it locked, because I just tell her to walk by my side and she does it. It's just the best thing. What I would say is don't scrimp on the carabiner. This is a climbing DMM brand. You don't want a cheap little thing that if the dog, say the dog was to fall off of something, with the harness, the way it attaches, your dog's not going to slip out. So say it was to fall, it would yank on this. If this was a cheap carabiner, it would just pull apart. So that's why I have a proper one as well. Plus, because it's larger, it's not as fiddly. Next up, a ladder strap, just a full ladder strap. And what I do is I attach that lengthways through the top of the harness, and then I use it as basically like a shoulder strap, and I sling moss over my back, and that's how we do river crossings. If I need to carry her for something extended where it would be too taxing just using one hand, or if I need both my hands, I use the ladder strap to carry her. We'll cover this in another section, but if you're going to take your dog hiking, especially in remote places, I think you need to have provision to be able to deal with any situation, and that includes injury. I would recommend that either you have the equipment and the ability, the fitness levels to be able to carry your dog out any situation, or that you have adequate supplies that you can stay in a location for a medium term period. If your dog picks up a little nagging injury, it might take a couple of days to heal for you to slowly walk out of that area. Make sure you've got enough food, make sure you've got the shelter so that you can do that. You should know your dog quite well and your equipment, your limits, your capabilities before you go out on any extended trips. All this stuff should be tested. You guys should be tested as well. You should know what you're capable of. If you were just to bringe out there on a remote, bearing in mind a lot of long distance routes though, you know, it's not far to the next train station. It's not, you can flag someone down, you can get help, they're well populated often. It's just some aren't, and some have remote sections. So be prepared and just gear up adequately. What I do for that is I have a couple of rubble bags, and I actually use these for lashing down my tent when it's particularly windy. But on the Cape Wrath Trail, I did have to carry moss the last 9 miles in my rucksack. What I do is I take all the light stuff out my rucksack, put them in these rubble bags to make, you know, waterproof and carrier, and I tie them to the outside of my rucksack. The heavy stuff remains in the rucksack, and moss goes in the rucksack on top of all that. Before we move on to weather gear, this is the rain cover for the pack, and we'll go outside in a little while and I'll put all this stuff on and show you what it's like on her, and I'll deploy the rain cover for the rucksack. I'll also put a rain jacket on it. Now, I bought this from Amazon, and I bought 3 of them, and they were all, it was kind of like joke, folk in work were laughing at me because the legs were dead long, the body was too short. It was just a bit of a joke. So I eventually got the closest one, and I cut the legs off. Cut the legs off the back. Because it depends on your dog. Moss has got quite a long body. I wasn't sure if this would work, so these legs are basically just cut right off. They have frayed a little bit, but not much. So I'm quite happy with that actually. Like, it's not caused any problems cutting it up. It's baggy on her, but when you've got the pack on it, it cinches it all in. And these I left on. I was thinking about cutting loops in this, but this is open so she can do the toilet and such. So I left these on as little leg straps just to keep this down, and this has actually worked a treat. And the way I've cut it is by fluke, totally by chance. It's ended up being a perfect fit, so I'm really pleased with that. And it is waterproof. I was like, I bet she gets soaked through this all in the bottom and all that, and she doesn't. Going camping with a dog, having a soaking wet, dirty dog coming into your tent is a bit of a nightmare. And also, at the end of a long day's hike, you tend to be tired, you're needing calories, you get cold easily. If you're wet, you know, it's uncomfortable. It's not a good situation to be in, and dogs are the same, of course. So having that on, it's just an extra shield, and she's happier. Not as exposed to the elements the whole time makes for a happier hiking dog. Depending on the time of year, I normally just bring this, but if it is colder, I do bring this jacket for her again, high vis. It isn't waterproof, but it is thick. It's well made actually. It's really, I'm quite pleased with this. It's really durable. It's heavy duty, and this is sized big enough that I can actually have this on her with that over the top and her bag over the top of all that. I took a large microfiber towel and I chopped it up just into a little one. Now that's good for when we were away for most of our trips. When it's been colder though, I've taken this, and that's what she can lie on. Now I do have to admit, Moss sleeps in my head essentially. When she's not too cold, she'll sleep next to us. When she is cold, I tend to lie on my side, and you know, there's like a crook in my legs, like when you're like, you know, your legs are straight and then they're not totally straight. Moss tends to lie in this wee bit here, like up against me. So she she's on my sleeping mat on top of my warm down sleeping bag. So she's always preferred like lying on me or up against me at all times ever since I got her. So she does that when we're away camping as well. I don't mind, you know, she's my dog. I love her. I like the closeness, so I don't mind. But if you've got this, you can put it over, so hopefully it doesn't muck up your sleeping bag. But let's be honest, if you've got a dog, you have to like hair with everything and stuff gets muddy. It's just the way it is. So that's what I do. And the towel, of course, for drying her off if she's a little bit muddy. And that system with the rain jackets worked well. We were in all manner of conditions this season, and this combo has kept her like amazingly clean and free of stuff. So really, really good. Next up is food. So I've just got one collapsible bowl, and you know, it just goes flat. And I use that as our water bowl. So I tend to feed her, and I use that as our water bowl. Dry kibble is what I feed her, and I've just got 2 of these bags, and I fill them, and we'll go through the food separately. For identification purposes, we've got our little collar with skulls on it, because if something has skulls on it, John's got to have it. And also, just our little, this is the microchip company, and they do it's like a laser etched details on the back for identification purposes. So she's got the tag and microchip. I keep this really loose. I'm always panicking about her getting caught on something, so I keep it so loose that she could easily pull her head out of it. And her tick collar. This is a little Swiss Army knife. It has a little pair of scissors there, and I use those to, if there's anything on her, like I can chop it off, like as in if there's any mats in her hair, or I can trim her up. And her whistle, I've trained her. This, I only ever use this. This is her emergency recall, basically. She's good at recall, but ever since I've had her, I decided to use the whistle so that if she's if she's very far away, I'll be able to reach out to her with urgency with this whistle. Probably, you know, she could probably hear this a mile plus away. You might struggle to hear a voice that far, and also it'll cut through the wind. So this, I've only trained her to emergency recall with this whistle. The only time I ever use that is to train it very frequently, and when I do train it, I make sure I've got loads of really high value rewards, and I really praise her so that this is like coming quickly to this emergency recall whistle is mega positive associations with it. So I don't do it a lot, but when I do, she'll get like loads of these, really rewarded for it. Next up, some personal care items. So we have this, which is natural tick repellent, and as you can see, it's just like some essential oils, diluted of course, that's dog safe. It's got really good reviews on Amazon, so I just took some of this and put it in a little bottle, and you can spray her down with it, cover her eyes, spray her down with it. In here I have a midgie net, and it's got to be a mega fine mesh. A mosquito net won't do. That's my backup one. I do try and get Moss to wear it when we stop at camp. Collies don't, long-haired dogs tend not to get bothered with midges. They'll go on them, but the midges can't get through them, apart from their ears, their inner ears, and maybe around their eyes. So what I tend to do is, the best insect repellent I've found is called Smidge. It's made by a Dundee company in Scotland. I spray some onto my hands, and I just rub that into the outside of her ears, not inside her ear, but just like the actual long parts. You don't want to be putting chemicals inside your sensitive dog's ears, but just to keep those midges at bay a wee bit. Otherwise, they can get midgie bites in the inside of their ears, and they go red and they get lumps, and it'll be uncomfortable. It's not nice. And totally essential for you and your dog, a tick twister, a large and a small for different size ticks. And all you do, I'll show you that in use later on. So that's it. That's all Moss's gear. That's all the stuff that goes in the bag. I'll show you the food later, And what I'll do is I'll pack up our bag and we'll go out, and I'll show you some commands that I use with her and how it all fits her. Once it's packed up though, what I do is I put my hand in the middle like this, and I just lift it up and I see how well balanced it is. And sometimes you might need to like take a boot out and put it there, but you want it to be balanced. Now when your dog's going, you will see it being totally lopsided if it's well out of balance. But you know, I like to get a good idea before I go out, and generally it's quite accurate. I can tell, you know, if it's going to sit on her properly or not. So we'll put that to the side and we will have a look at our food.